Welcome back. We're studying the second chapter of Ilchot Ishut, the first set of halachot in the book of Nashim, dealing with all things having to do with the relations between men and women with respect to society. And this chapter, Perek Shani, is going to be mostly a definitional chapter with definitions that we're going to use throughout this fairly long treatise of Ishut. This chapter itself is long as well, and it has lots of technical terms having to do with anatomical processes and features. So I'll do my best to translate them and explain them as best as possible. It basically, that what we should get from this chapter is understanding by when or through what signs a woman and a man respectively become adults for certain decisions. It's not, we are not concerned as under other legal systems like the American law with a number of years from birth, although that's also relevant, but it's mostly, for some other specific reasons, it's biological milestones that are reached, specifically puberty, as we're going to see, and these things have signs that we can look for and should look for. So Halacha Aleph, and we start, I guess, given that this is the book of Nashim, and given that it's more relevant than for men in many instances, because men normally engage in all of these processes of kiddushin when they are older than women. At least that's what the case used to be. So Habat, the female, from the moment she is born until she is 12 entire years, and her mom is going to explain later what we mean by years. She's called a minor. She's also called a child female. And regardless of any puberty signs, like several puberty, like the word in English implies, has to do with pubic hair. That's the most direct siman of puberty. So even if there has been hair growth in many places of the body up to that age, those hairs are totally irrelevant for the simanim of puberty and of adulthood, and are regarded as shuma. Shuma is a birthmark, and it means that they are disregarded. However, if she has had hair growth in the places of the body which are known to be the places where there is hair growth, is the pubic area and the armpits, mostly the pubic area. And the reason why there is hair growth in that area is because of testosterone levels, both in men and women. This is a very similar process in both genders. And the testosterone, which is part and parcel of the puberty, of the puberty process, is expressed, is seen, is evidenced by the growth of those hairs. Just to make a point, although these changes have to do mostly with becoming ready for reproduction, we know today that all of these changes accompany also neurological changes, and the prefrontal cortex gets developed at the same time, and the ability to make decisions accompanies the ability to become pregnant or to make somebody else pregnant. So long as these signs appear, if there is multiple hairs, in other words, more than one, down there in places that are known to be for the growth of hair, the pubic area, and the girl is older than 12 years and 1 day, then the term, halachic term, second definition first definition was ketana/tinoket, second definition is na'ara. Na'ara, whenever you see the Torah na'ara, vila na'ara lo ta'aseh davar, and so on and so forth, it means a girl that's 12 years of age plus has had the signs of puberty already. And if these two hairs are found during this time, in other words, after the age of 12, this is called siman tahton, the lower siman. Halacha bet. And once she has this sign, siman tahton, she's called na'ara. What causes entering the definition of na'ara is siman tahton. Until when? Until 6 months. ומתחילת יום תשלום 6 חודשים ומעלה, תיקרא בוגרת, ואין בין נערות לבגרות אלא 6 חודשים בלבד. And this process, the puberty process, halachically speaking, the legal definition of the puberty process, which has some consequences that we're going to see, is 6 months. So 6 months from the moment it starts, we start counting for this process. It's called na'arut, the process of reaching adulthood. And after this process, after these 6 months, and this could be at 12 and a half, it will be at 13 and a half, it will be at 14 and a half. It's 6 months from the beginning of the process. At that moment, the girl is called bogeret, she's called an adult for all purposes. And the only difference between bogeret and ne'ara is 6 months. הלכה ג' הגיעה ל-12 שנה ויום אחד ולא הביאה 2 שערות. What if the girl reached 12 years and 1 day and she hasn't had any signs of puberty? So there is 2 alternatives here. Either puberty is delayed a little bit, because for most girls this happens around this time, or the girl might be suffering from some condition, and there is a few potential candidates for what this condition could be, whereby this particular girl will not develop, will not mature in a female way for reproduction. The legal definition for that condition is called ailonit. Ailonit comes from the word ail, which is the male ram, is a ram. In other words, she's a masculine woman. It doesn't mean any detriment. In fact, Chachamim, perhaps to say that there is nothing wrong with being ailonit, said that Sarah Imenu was ailonit. I believe the daughter of Rabban Gabriel was ailonit as well. There is not. It's just a legal definition, and it means that this girl is not that she's going through a process after which she's going to be fertile and she's going to become a woman that's ready to have children, an adult woman, but rather she's never going to go through this process. So we wait for this girl after reaching 12 years, but we don't wait indefinitely, and that's what this halakha is dealing with. So although we have some evidence that this girl might be ailonit, actually, by the way, one of the syndromes that under modern medicine we know that would be classified as ailonit halachically. I'm not saying it's the only one, but the Turner syndrome, Turner, is one under which the girl is born with only an X in the chromosome. There is no second X as a normal woman has, and this causes several things which are very consistent with what Harambam is going to describe. But most importantly, such a woman without any fertility treatments cannot naturally have children. So if this woman has some signs of ailonit, we still wait between 12 and 20. We still wait and give this girl time to start the puberty process. In other words, if the puberty process begins anytime between 12 and 20, this is still called normal within halachic, within Jewish law. And the girl would not become an adult until passing this stage of puberty, even if she's 19. And then, once she has a siman tahton of multiple hairs, even if she's in her 20th year, in other words, she's 19, she starts that process of na'arut for 6 full months. And only after that she's going to be considered an adult, a bogeret. הלכה ד' הייתה בת 20 שנה פחות 30 יום ולא הביאה 2 שערות ונראו בה סימני אילונית, הרי היא אילונית. However, come the end of the 19th year, she's 20 years minus 30 days, and she hasn't had this pubescent signs, and she has some simanim of ailonit, then legally we term her and we deem her to be ailonit. ואם לא נראו בה הכל סימני אילונית, עדיין קטנה היא עד שתביא 2 שערות ותהיה נערה, או עד שתהיה בת 35 שנה ויום אחד. However, if she only has not experienced puberty, but she also doesn't show any of the signs of ailonit, then she's going to be ketana even past the age of 20 until one of two things happen, until either she shows one of three things, rather. One, she shows signs of Ailonit, in which case she's Ailonit. Two, she shows signs of puberty, in which case she becomes Na'ara and subsequently Bogeret after 6 months. Or three, she reaches the age of 35 years, and then at 35 years and 1 day, she's automatically called Ailonit, even though she doesn't have any of the signs of that we would identify today as Turner syndrome or some other categorization. הלכה ה' הגיעה לזמן הזה ולא הביאה שתי שערות. What if the girl reached this time, 35 years, and she still has not shown any signs of puberty? הרי זו נקראת אילונית. She's then called אילונית. אף על פי שלא נראה בה סימן מסימני אילונית, even though she's not representing any of the features that אילונית would normally have. נמצאת למד שהאילונית אין לה ימי נערות. So one thing you learn from all of this, you can conclude that אילונית never goes through that process of 6 months of na'arut. It's more binary. She goes from being ketana to becoming ailonit. Ella miqatnutaha tesseh lebagrut. From a minor, she goes to becoming ailonit, which, by the way, is also adulthood. So ailonit just means, for legal terms, that we are going to deem this girl, we're going to consider this woman to be an adult, even though she hasn't had any of the puberty signs. We need the puberty signs, yes, but we are carving out, we are accepting a new category called Ailonit, which means an adult woman that has not had a puberty sign, but has had other conditions, including having reached the age of 20 with some Simane Ailonit, or reaching the age of 35, regardless of Simane Ailonit. Halakha vav ve'elu hem Simane Ailonit. These are the signs that make a girl be deemed Ailonit. So number one, there is going to Arabam is going to number this, to enumerate these simanim. So let's count them as well. Number one, a girl that doesn't have any protruding nipples. Umitkasha b'shat tashmish. The experience of intercourse is very difficult. 3, ve'en la shipule me'ayim kan nashim. 3, the ratio, and this is true, by the way, with Turner syndrome, the ratio between the hips and the waistline is very, very low, is close to 1-to-1. In other words, for most women, the hips, and this is a physiological characteristic that permits for the embryo to grow inside and for the woman to become pregnant, but the hips are much wider than the waistline. So for Ailonit, it's not. Shipule me'ayim is the hips, is the fat around the hips that makes the me'ayim. Bekola ave ve'ena nikret benish leisha. Bekola ave, sorry, bekola ave is another sign, having a deeper voice than average. And also, ena nikret benish leisha, she has, it's difficult to discern her gender, whether she is female or not. However, Na'ara is a girl that is going through puberty. In other words, more than 12 years plus the signs of Siman Tahton. Bogeret is an actual adult, and Na'ara plus 6 months. And Ailonit, each of these three is considered an adult. She's a Gedola for many consequences in Halakha. Halakha Zain. ויש בבת סימנים מלמעלה והם הנקראים סימן העליון. Not only do females have pubescent signs in the pubic area, but also there is some signs in the upper part of the body. They are called סימן העליון, the upper signs. ואלו הן, and these are they, משתחזיר ידה לאחוריה ויעשה קמת במקום הדד. When the woman puts her arms back and the nipple folds, in other words, the nipple is more or less ready to have milk. The orifice in the nipple is forming. The darkening of the nipple. The kind of flexibility that the nipple has. All of these things have to do with being ready for nursing. Likewise, the nipple becoming more pointier. This is the same concept of becoming ready for nursing. And And Rambam says, and my own rabbis have explained that Rosh Chotem Haddad, V'yaseh b'rosho kadur katan, that we actually need to see that there is an actual hole starting to form in the nipple. That is one of the signs of Siman Ha'alyon. Vechen, likewise, there is other signs. Sheyitu Haddadin means when the angle of the breasts changes. They are growing for purposes of milk production. That's also a sign of puberty. By the way, all of these signs are very, very consistent with modern biology and the study of puberty. And there is actual scales that doctors nowadays use to see if a young girl or a young boy have reached puberty, respectively, and they have milestones that they reach. And all of these are milestones that are very consistent with what's known in medicine today. Also, when around the nipples there is some sort of a pattern, it's called the aureola in English. Also, when the pubic area starts protruding, there is fat on top of the pubic bone that grows during puberty. And then afterwards, as a separate stage, that area, also the pubic area, becomes, again, because of this fat growth, becomes, it's not as hard as the bone, and this is all part of the effects of, in the girl, of estrogen. This is in parallel to the effects of testosterone, which are the hair growth. Kol elu hasimanim shemona. All of these signs which we just mentioned are 8. Nir'a babat siman mikol elu o kulan. If in a girl any of these signs appear, or all of them, vehi bat shetem 10 shana o pachut, and she is 12, exactly 12 or less, in other words, not 12 and 1 day or more, en mashgichin bo, we ignore this sign, we don't care about what happened, v'harahi bekatnutaha, and she remains a minor. Now, if she is 12 and 1 day, and she has a simana tahton, she has the effects of testosterone, namely pubic hair, then we no longer care about whether the other processes of estrogen are happening. However, if the pubic hair has not appeared, but the other have happened, then she's safek. She's neither ketana, she's neither a minor nor an adult. And we actually treat her as both whenever the situation permits to treat her as either lehumra, to be more stringent in each case. And if all the simanim ha'alyonim happen, if all the estrogen effects have been seen, then even if there is no seemingly siman tahton, we assume that there is siman tahton, and it must be that there was siman tahton and venashar, and then the effects are no longer visible, but there was at some point. Halakha tet. הבת שילדה אחר 12 שנה, אף על פי שלא הביאה סימן לא עליון ולא תחתון, הרי זו גדולה בנים עליהם כסימנים. One more exception to having to look for the signs, birth. If a woman gives birth whenever, then that is a very, very strong dispositive evidence. It's a sign of adulthood, regardless of any of the other puberty signs. The ability to have children, which is evidenced by actually having children, is all that you need for a siman of Gedolah. Now we switch to the other gender, males, and what are the signs that make a boy into an adult. Yod, haben misheyivaled ad sheyeh ben 13 shana, a boy, from the moment he's born until he reaches 13 years, nikra katan venikra tinok, is called a minor and a child. Even if there is testosterone during this time, and therefore there is pubic hair during this time. Enan siman ela shuma. These are not a sign of puberty, halachically speaking, but rather we consider them just like any other mark in the body that we disregard it. הביש את השערות למטה במקומות הידועים לשיער, והוא מבין 13 שנה ויום אחד ומעלה, נקרא גדול ונקרא איש. However, if multiple hairs, more than one hair, has grown in the pubic area after the boy has passed 13 years, then he's an adult, then he's a man, gadol and ish. I just want to point out a couple of things. Number one, the celebration of bar mitzvah upon reaching the age of 13 is something that we have to know is very modern. I'm not sure when it started, but it definitely was not the case in the time of the Gemara. I doubt Rambam had a bar mitzvah celebration. And more importantly, just becoming 13 doesn't really change things in terms of reaching adulthood. To be precise, the boy has to become 13 and have exhibited some of the signs of puberty, as we have just described. Only then does the boy become a man, does the boy become an adult, not upon reaching 13 automatically. הלכה י"א, הגיע לזמן הזה ולא הביש את השערות, אף על פי שנראו בו סימני סריס, הרי זה קטן. So just like we have אילונית for the woman, which is a subcategory, which permits the girl to become and to be considered an adult, despite not having signs of puberty. For a boy also, a boy can become an adult, despite not having any signs of puberty, and the category for this will be saris, which means an infertile boy, a boy that cannot have children, maybe for a deficiency in testosterone or some other reason. That's called saris, and we are going to see how a boy can qualify for being a saris. So if a boy reached this time and did not have pubic hair, even if he has some of the signs of sarisut, which we are going to talk about later, we still give him some time to reach puberty, and he's still a minor. And just like the girl, although here with the boy it was 13 years and the girl was 12 years, we have the time period during which puberty can appear, and we can consider it a normal process, is until 20 years for both, 20 minus 30 days. If he reached this time and still there is no pubic hair, and there is also no facial hair. Facial hair is also, in this sense, a sign of puberty. So if we have any of the signs of saris, then this boy, having reached the age of 20 minus 30 days, is considered an adult and an adult saris. And we say that the fact that he didn't reach puberty doesn't have to do with how he hasn't matured yet, but he's never going to mature. He's saris, and therefore he's, legally speaking, an adult from this moment on. However, if he doesn't exhibit any of the signs of saris, which we are still going to describe, he's still considered a minor. Until he either reaches some of the signs of puberty, namely the multiple hairs in the pubic area, or until he becomes 35 years of age. If he reaches 35 years of age and he has neither simanim of saris nor simanim of puberty, he's saris. Even if he doesn't exhibit any of the signs of saris. If he reaches the age of 20 minus 30 days and he doesn't have pubic hair, however, he has facial hair, multiple facial hairs, So what facial hair does is it removes the presumption of saris, which is a male equivalent to ailonit, between the ages of 20 and 35. So even if there is signs of saris between the ages of 20 to 35, the fact that there is facial hair removes the category of saris, and that boy will remain a minor until the age of 35 or until actually reaching puberty. הלכה י"ג, ואלו הן סימני סריס, these are the signs of being a saris. כל שאין לו זקן, not having a beard, facial hair, ושערו לקוי, having hair that is very, very thin and fragile, ובשרו מחליק, having very, very clean skin without any hairs, ואין ממי רגליו מעלים רתיחה, not having warm urine, the urine is cold, וכשמטיל, or sorry, it's not that it's cold, it's that it doesn't have any bubbles. וכשמטיל מים אינו עושה כיפה, also the curvature of the urine is not there. The urine that doesn't flow in a curved way like it does for most normal men. ושכבת זרעו דהה, and the semen of this person is dark. ואין ממי רגליו בחמיסים, it's the urine itself is not acidic. ולוחס בימות הגשמים ואין בשרו מעלה הבל. Also, if he were to take a shower in the winter, he comes out of that shower and he doesn't have any vapors coming, which is normal for most people. In other words, his body temperature is different, it seems to be. וקולו לקוי, his voice is different. His voice falters. ואינו ניכר בין איש לאישה, and so too, and it doesn't, sorry, all of these are or, he doesn't have any distinguishing features to let us make up very easily whether it's a boy or a girl, whether it's a man or a woman. הלכה י"ד, וסריס זהו הנקרא סריס חמה, and a person like this that has this kind of simanim is what's called seris hama. Seris hama means someone who became a seris the moment that he saw daylight for the first time. In other words, a saris from birth. That's saris hama. בכל מקום, anywhere that we say saris hama, it means a saris from birth. אבל הבן שחתכו או ניתקו או מיעכו גידו בשיו כמו שהגויים עושים. However, a boy that has been castrated, like is done by the goyim, this was very common in antiquity, not in Am Yisrael, but everywhere else, including what Nebuchadnezzar did with, it seems to be, with Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And by removing the male reproductive organs, also the testosterone levels decrease markedly. הוא הנקרא סריס אדם, this is called a man-made saris. וכשיהיה בן 13 שנה ויום אחד נקרא גדול, שאין זה מביא סימן לעולם. And when a person that is a saris of this kind becomes 13 years and 1 day of age, he's an adult automatically because he's never going to have these signs of puberty. הלכה ט"ו, בן 13 שנה ויום אחד שלא הביא סימן למטה, a boy who is 13 years and 1 day of age that has not had pubic hair, ונראו בו כל הסימנים שלמעלה, but he has had all the other סימנים, הרי זה ספק, and סימנים שלמעלה, in this case for a boy, it means facial hair and or hair under the armpits, and that he doesn't have problems on his hair. His hair is thick. His actual hair on his head. So it's a fact whether he's a minor or an adult. ואם לא נבדק מלמטה, כיוון שנראו בו סימני בגרות מלמעלה, הרי זה בחזקת גדול. And if nobody knows what's going on down there, as it's the case with most kids that nobody's going around asking boys 13 years or more of age to show proof that they have pubic hair. So rather we go by the presumption, and we presume that if the simanim appear in the upper parts of the body, namely if the boy has a little bit of facial hair, that's when we assume that he has pubic hair. הלכה ט"ז, שתי שערות המולות בבן ובבת בכל מקום ובכל מקום, שיעורן כדי לחוף ראשן לעיקרן. Now, these hairs, this hair that we are talking about, the pubic hairs that we are talking, whether for boys or girls, these need to have a certain measure. They need to be long enough and strong enough that you can take them and bend them on themselves so that the tip of it touches the root. ומשיישמחו ויהיו יכולות להינטל בפי הזוג עד שיגיעו לחוף ראשן לעיקרן, and as soon as they are grown enough so much that they can be cut by scissors, and then which shows that they can be folded on themselves, דנין בהם להחמיר בכל מקום. Then we consider them as hairs if that will let us be more stringent. In other words, if by labeling this boy or this girl as an adult renders a more stringent result. לפיכך, בבן ובבת נחשוב אותם גדולים להחמיר, הואיל ושמחו כדי להינטל בפי הזוג. Therefore, the boy and the girl, we consider them adults לחומרה, given that the hairs are long enough to be cut with scissors. ונחשוב אותם קטנים להחמיר, הואיל ולא הגיעו לחוף ראשן לעיקרן. But on the other hand, we are also more stringent in this because the hairs are not long enough to be folded on themselves. So just to review this halakha, because I think I was a little confusing, we are talking about a situation in which the hairs are too short as to fold on themselves, but long enough to be cut by scissors. So that is lehumra to both sides. One more clarification on something I said earlier. Although the bar mitzvah that we do today has no relevance for legal status as an adult, and this is mostly for court liability, for court-imposed liability, it does have relevance for some other things, simply the age of 13 or simply the age of 12 for girls, including ones starting to keep all the mitzvot. So that the starting of the mitzvot obviously has to do with the age and not with the biological processes. י"ז, שתי שערות אלו סליחות שיהיו במקום הערווה. These two hairs that we are saying, I already gave this up by saying pubic hair, but these hairs that we set down there in a euphemism that Rambam has been using need to be in the pubic hair area. ובית הערווה כולו מקום סימנים, and the entire pubic area is fine for these hairs. בין למעלה, בין למטה, בין על עברי הזרע עצמם, whether above, under, or on the reproductive organs themselves. וצריכות להיות במקום אחד, and they have to be in the same area. ושיהיו בעיקרן גומות, and they have to come from follicles of hair. They cannot be just like the velum that babies have. ואפילו שתהן בגומה אחת, הרי אלו סימן, and even if two hairs come from the same follicle, that is enough of a סימן. נמצאו שתי גומות זו בצד זו ואין בהם שיער, הרי אלו סימן. If we find the hair follicles without the hair, they are a סימן. חזקה אין גומה בלא שיער, because we assume that the follicle means that there was a hair there, but the hair fell and the follicle stayed. ושערות היו בהן ונשרו. הלכה י"ח, הבת שהביאה שתי שערות בתוך שנת 12, והבן שהביא בתוך 13 שהן שומה, כמו שביארנו, אף על פי שהשערות במקומן עומדות, אחת 13 שנה ואחת 12 שנה לנקבה, אינן סימן. If this pubic hair grew on the boy within the 13th year, namely before he turned 13, or for the girl within the 12th year before she turned 12, these are not a siman. Even if they stay after that, we have to disregard them and look for new hair growing after reaching that age threshold. הלכה י"ט, במה דברים אמורים בשנבדקו בתוך הזמן ונודע שהם שומה. However, this is all when we actually affirmatively checked. For example, the Beit Din needed to know if this boy would be hayav for something, and they checked if this boy has hair or not, and then they saw that he had hair before the age of 13, so they affirmatively established that the hair had been grown. Then, if this same hair is after reaching 13, then that's considered shuma. אבל אם לא נבדקו אלא אחר זמן ונמצאו שם שתי שערות, however, if they only check after, affirmatively check after the boy has reached 13, and then they find two hairs, we don't concern ourselves with whether this hair was grown before or after reaching the age of 13. We assume it grew after. We don't need to worry about whether this happened before. הריהן בחזקת סימנים, ואין אומרים שמה קודם זמן שמחו כדי שיהיו שומה. הלכה ב' כשבודקין הבת בתוך הזמן שהוא כל שנה 12 בין קודם זמן זה בין לאחריו, בודקין על פי נשים כשרות ונאמנות, ואפילו אישה אחת בודקת ושומעים ממנה אם הביאה אם לא הביאה. When the bed din need for some reason to establish whether a girl reached or not adulthood, then to see if the pubic hair siman has happened, obviously the bed din themselves are not going to be the ones looking into that, but a woman is going to do so. You don't even need more than one woman. One woman is enough, and whatever she says that is the case, and the bed din accepts that. הלכה כ"א כל השנים האמורות בבן ובת ובערכין ובכל מקום, whenever we talk about years, we talk about years not with respect to hagim, but years with respect to durations, including here that we're saying 12 years or 13 years, then you could have asked, well, what years are we talking about? 365 days, 354 days, like the moon, the lunar year? What kind of year are we talking about? אינן לא שני הלבנה ולא שני החמה, אלא שנים שלסדר העיבור. We are not talking about solar years or lunar years. We are talking about following the years of the calendar. In other words, the years that we count from the birth of Adam Arishon, the count of the Yesirah, what's called, and this is called שנים שלסדר העיבור, שהן פשוטות ומעוברות כמו שבדין קובעים אותן, כמו שביארנו בהלכות קידוש החודש, and some of them will be longer, some of them will be shorter, depending on what the bedin decides, as was explained in קידוש החודש, ובאותן השנים מונים לכל דברי הדת, and we follow those kinds of years for all things having to do with Jewish law. הלכה כ"ב אין סומכין על הנשים במניין השנים ולא על הקרובים, אלא על פי שני עדים כשרים להעיד. Now, in terms of how old a boy or a girl is, we said that we rely on a woman for whether a girl has had puberty or not, but in terms of how old they are, we actually need a formal testimony, which is only rendered by two fit witnesses, which under Jewish law are two adult males that are not related nor to the object of the testimony, nor to one another. הלכה כ"ג האב שאמר בני זה בן 9 שנים ויום אחד, ביתי זו בת 3 שנים ויום אחד, נאמן לקורבן, אבל לא למכות ולא לעונשים. So if a father says about his son or about his daughter that that's what their age is, then that's fine in terms of korban. We're going to see that the korban depends on age. That's enough for that, but it's not a sufficient testimony for liability. בני זה בן 13 שנה ויום אחד, ביתי זו בת 12 שנה ויום אחד, נאמן לנדרים ולערכים ולחרמים ולהקדשות. Likewise, if he says that they are of the age of 12 or of 13, which has consequences for many topics, then this will be sufficient for the topics of nedarim, for whether he can or he cannot annul their nedarim, arachin, haramin, ekdeshot, all of which things that we are going to discuss in the book of Hafla'ah and more. אבל לא למכות ולא לעונשים, but again, not for liability. For liability, we actually require to establish all the circumstances that will make this boy or this girl liable by means of two witnesses, two fit witnesses. It's not enough that the father says that they are of age. We need a testimony to establish that as well. Halakha kafdalet. Now we are talking about some exceptions to the genders as we define them right now. שיש לו אברי זכרות ואברי נקבות הוא נקרא אנדרוגינס. A person that has female and male reproductive organs at the same time is called androgynas. It's a very rare genetic disorder that someone is born with both organs. There is no differentiation during the development of the fetus. והוא ספק אם זכר אם נקבה, and the consequence legally of this kind of phenomenon is that we treat this person as potentially as neither male nor female, but maybe male and maybe female. ואין לו סימן שיוודע בו אם הוא זכר ודאי או נקבה ודאית לעולם, and there is nothing that can happen through this person's life to establish legally whether it or he or she or Z should be treated as male or female. ומי שאין לו, לא זכרות ולא נקבות אלא אטום, and there is another genetic disorder where the reproductive organ is covered by some sort of a membrane, and you cannot make up whether under that membrane there is a male or a female reproductive organ. הוא הנקרא טומטום או טומטום. This is what's called a טומטום, from perhaps from the word in Hebrew atum, which means covered, clogged. וגם הוא ספק, and this person also is not definitively a male or female. However, ואם נקרא טומטום ונמצא זכר, הרי הוא כזכר ודאי, ואם נמצא נקבה, הרי הוא נקבה. The difference is that something can happen in this person's life, namely the exposure of the actual sexual organ. If this membrane is open, is breached somehow, and then we'll know for a fact if it's a male or a female. In other words, male and female for halakha are a function of what sexual organ was present at birth. That's what determines whether someone is a male or a female, nothing else. Also, chromosomically, I should add, the Ailonit, as I mentioned before, doesn't have the same chromosomes as a regular female. She may have only one X, and that's still sufficient to be a woman, and even an adult woman, after reaching the age of 35 or the age of 20 minus a month, plus some simanim of Ailonit. וטומטום ואנדרוגינס שהיו בין 12 שנה ויום אחד, הרי הם בחזקת גדולים והן שנדבר בהן בכל מקום. And the Tomtom and the Androgynas, once they reach the age of 12 years and 1 day, then they also are deemed to be adults, regardless, without giving any effect to any puberty signs that they may have. They are a category of their own, and we deem them adults the moment they reach the age of 12 and 1 day. Further exceptions from adulthood. חירש וחירשת המורים בכל מקום, someone who is deaf, male and female, that is mentioned anywhere. הן האילמים שאין שומעים והם מדברים. We are talking about someone who not only cannot hear, but also cannot talk. They cannot talk nor hear. אבל מי שמדבר ואינו שומע או שומע ואינו מדבר, הרי הוא ככל אדם. However, if the person has the ability to communicate either by hearing or by speaking, input or output, that person is considered an adult and is not taken from this definition of adulthood into the definition of incapacity under Jewish law, which is heresh. הרי הוא ככל אדם, and is like anyone else. ואיש ואישה שהם שלמים בדעתן ואינן לא חירשים ולא שוטים, נקראים פיקח או פיקחת. And an adult that has no mental impairment, nor has any physical impairment that impedes communication, namely deafness that has also to do with being mute, then such a person is called pikeach or pikahat, which means an adult that has capacity to make decisions. Halakha Kaf Zayin, to conclude this definitional chapter, נמצא כל השמות שבארנו עניינה בשני פרקים אלו, you'll see that if you take the first and second chapters of Ilchot Ishut, we have defined the following terms. 20 שמות, there were 20 terms. ואלו הן קידושין, ערווה, שנייה, איסורי לוין, איסורי עשה. Those were all in the first chapter. Chapter 2, and I'm not translating any of them because we've learned them. קטנה, נערה, בוגרת, עילונית, גדולה, סימן התחתון, סימן העליון, חתן, סריס חמה, סריס אדם, גדול, אנדרוגינס, טומטום, חירשין, and פיקחים. That's 20. שים כל השמות האלו לעומתך תמיד. הרמב"ם, now he directs us to, throughout this halachot, to always have these terms very readily available in our minds and the definitions. ואל ילוזו מעיניך כל ענייניהם, and don't forget what makes one fit into each of these terms. כדי שלא נהיה צריכים לבאר עניין כל שם מהן בכל מקום שנזכור אותו. And that way, Rambam is saying, I'm not going to go and explain each of these definitions every time that I use them through these chapters and through the rest of Mishne Tora. So pay attention and remember these definitions And if you ever forget any of these definitions, at least you know now where you should go back to see what each of them means and how to qualify for each of them. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.